Hi, I'm Paul Niven, co-author of Objectives and Key Results, Driving Focus, Alignment, and Engagement with OKRs, and several other books on strategy execution. Joined today by my friend and colleague, Zach Ross.
Hey, Paul. I'm glad to be here. My name is Zachary Ross, as Paul mentioned. I'm currently a technical program manager at Google, and before that I was at Amazon, and then I've also worked at AT&T and several startups.
All right, so Zach, what are we doing today?
Today we are going through some more questions, and we're going to go into the mailbag, and you're going to be up first here.
Excellent, okay.
So, quick question for you, Paul, is should OKRs be linked to performance reviews?
And I think you said quick?
This may not be so quick.
It may not be so quick. Okay, so this is a big question that we hear a lot, performance reviews. Well, first of all, there's a lot of angst around the idea of performance reviews. I think Deloitte has done some research and suggested about 55% of all companies are unhappy with the performance review process. Right. In fact, Deloitte and I think Adobe, Accenture, several companies are actually doing away with performance reviews altogether. They tend to be really rearward looking, right? Cause a lot of stress for people. A lot of problems. So I guess the short answer, if we were to be quick, is typically we don't want to link OKRs to performance reviews. Perhaps they can inform the process, be one part of the equation. How did you do on your OKRs this year? But exclusively linking them to, I think, is a problem because it could lead to what we call sandbagging, right?
Absolutely.
Setting low goals for yourself because you can easily achieve them. So I would say no, we don't want to make that tight coupling.
Well, when you're exactly. I completely agree because, as you say, if your performance and your compensation is tied to your OKRs, then the OKRs that are supposed to be for running the business are not going to be as good as they could be because you're actually more worried about the compensation than you are about writing good objectives. Right. And many times there's a close alignment, but sometimes not. And so, we've found, at least within Google, that when we decouple them, you're going to come up with better OKRs. Now, certainly, achieving your goals is part of your performance, but it's not a tight couple.
Right. Good. You mentioned compensation, which is another issue we could talk about too. And there's a great quote from Stephen Covey. Who said, you never mess with a man's rice bowl, and he was talking about compensation, right? So that's another issue. That we don't want to have that tight coupling. All right, Zach, my turn to ask you a question.
I'm ready.
Let's see. Oh, okay, this is a good one. What is the ideal number of OKRs for a team? How many should they have? Is there a solid number?
There's no golden number, and you and I may disagree somewhat on this because, for my team that I help support and kind of set goals and objectives for, we actually come up with 25 to 30 across a large organization. And the question sometimes comes up, is that too many? For us, we don't feel like it is because we know what we're trying to execute and what we're trying to optimize for. And so we are able to kind of keep track of all those objectives, and from quarter to quarter, we adjust what we're doing based on the performance against those 25. So for us, that seems to work very well. But I'm not sure. You've worked with a lot of clients. What works even better?
Well, before I asked that, you said 25. Is that objectives, and how many key results would we have?
At least 25 key results, if not more. Usually, probably 30, 35.
That's remarkable. Yeah, I don't know if we'll disagree, but I guess my philosophy more so than my experience is just that I love the idea of real focus. Especially if you're new to OKRs. I think it would be challenging to jump. You've got 17 or 18 years of experience doing this, you and your teams. For those of you who are new to OKRs, I certainly wouldn't advocate that. I think you need to focus on just one or two with a few associated key results.
And maybe to add some additional context, each of our sub teams within the larger team has two or three that they focus on, and but then bubble up so that our leadership can kind of look holistically across the team. So you're right. I think it is important. The main thing is keep the main thing main thing.
But I think you're right. You're right as well here. What we're saying with each other right here. That there's no golden number, as you said. I'm working with a client right now, and this gentleman that I'm working with formerly worked at a very high-profile government agency. And he told me they would have 5 or 6 objectives, each with 3 or 4 key results. So again, the numbers get very large very quickly. So I think part of it is cultural as well. If you operate in a culture that's amenable to a large number of these things and you can get things done, and they're still priority items, then it's probably fine. So again, the bottom line is no absolute number, no right number here.
All right. Let's dip back one more time, or maybe 2 more times into the mailbag. So what is the relationship between tasks and key results?
Okay, so I think for a lot of people, the task is kind of a dirty word in the whole OKR lexicon. It's like, oh, don't talk about tasks, right? But I think tasks are a key part of the process, right? Because semantically, you could say anything you come up with is basically a task. We're going to do something. Well, isn't that a task? And you're trying to talk about semantics, but we're trying to elevate the conversation with OKRs. Like, what is the broad qualitative goal we're after, and how do we know we've achieved it? But as part of that process, I think you do have to articulate all of your tasks. I know when I set my own OKRs, which I do every quarter, a big part of that process is what are the tasks it will take me to achieve the key result, which will, of course, help me achieve the objective. So I think it's a key part of the process that is overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, because I think sometimes what may happen is when we are aspirational with our goals, but then we don't actually think through the tasks required for achieving that particular goal, then you are really kind of guessing whether or not you can achieve that goal. Now, sometimes execution is an issue, but you need to have a sense of what it actually will look like to achieve that goal. If there's no pathway for success, then that's not a good objective. Even though it may be even aspirational, you need to have at least some sense of how you're going to get there.
I love that, the idea of a pathway. I know that, again, that's what I do, and I advocate with my clients as well. If you're using that 90-day cadence at 12 weeks, well, then break it down week by week. What are the tasks this week, again, that will lead to the achievement of the key results? So.
Yeah, and you're so good in thinking about that week to week. It depends on the team. Some individuals, some teams may just have maybe 7, 8, 10 tasks for the quarter, that these milestones that we have to achieve. But other teams get very specific down to the week, like we have to achieve this before we achieve this. And it's up to the manager, it's up to the team to how to do that. But I think the key component here is having some sense of tasks that need to be achieved.
Right. Good. Okay, we have time for one more question for Zach. How do teams successfully incorporate OKRs into their way of working?
Well, we get asked this often enough as well, and it's a good question, especially for clients that we work with, because they get so excited about setting those objectives and key results, but then next day, what do you do?
Yeah, good.
And for us, at least at Google, we incorporate it by setting up checkpoints along the quarter, so that we constantly are looking at the OKRs, like, hey, how are we doing against our plan? And it goes back to this discussion we had about task lists. Are we achieving the tasks that are helping us achieve those objectives? So in my personal case, we do about every 6 weeks. We do at the end of beginning of every quarter, we set our OKRs, and then the middle of the quarter, how are we doing? We kind of grade ourselves. But I'm certainly aware of other teams that do a weekly type of check-in, and some managers may even do more than weekly, depending on the nature of the work that they're doing. I don't know, Paul, what do you think? Is that
Well, I think it's what you're talking about there is how do you incorporate it in your way of working? You do it, right? You institute with rigor and discipline, and you talk about it. Whether it's some people have daily stand-ups, they can talk OKRs and those. You can do the weekly check-in, the mid-quarter. So I think it's just the really thing is getting feedback. We talked, I'm not sure if it was in this video or a previous one, we talked about the importance of feedback with any kind of measurement system, right? And that's how you do this as well.
Because the worst thing is to set those OKRs and then never touch them again until the end of the quarter. Well, then you're not really using the OKRs to drive your business.
Exactly.
And I think that's the important key here.
Yeah, good. Well, I hope you'll give us an A for all the answers to those questions, but we'll see. If you have any questions you'd like to ask us about OKRs, please feel free to send them in. We'd love to talk about them on a future video. And if you'd like to do that, you can send them to our website at www.OKRsTraining.com. Thanks very much, Zach.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, and thanks to all of you for watching.